Good morning, fellow traders. This is Doug Campbell with Right Way Options, and this is the morning market prep video for January 2nd, 2025. Well, welcome back, everyone. I am back in the saddle here. Hope everyone had a wonderful Christmas and New Year's holiday. Hopefully it wasn't too intense on New Year's. You might be a little bit groggy this morning. Hope everyone is doing well, and Happy New Year to everyone. Well, let's take a look. Let's see if I can remember how to do this video this morning. Let's take a look at what we've got going here overnight. First off, Asian markets. A little bit of a rough night, particularly in over in China. China falling 2.66% last night after they continued to see their manufacturing declining and PMI numbers continuing to soften. Hong Kong fell 2.18% as well. India was a little bit higher. The Nikkei was down last night, 0.96%. And Australia had a nice little move up 5.2%. If we take a look at European markets this morning, European markets are mostly lower. They've got a problem over there as well with so much political uncertainty, and they're continuing to see their manufacturing base decline as well. German manufacturing PMI coming in lower, Italy coming in lower. We also see that not only in Germany but France is having some significant trouble with their manufacturing also in decline. Now, that being said, we've got the DAX coming in down 0.37%, while the FTSE is trying to squeak out a little bit of a gain here, up $6.64 or 0.08%. And the CAC is lower here this morning by 1.29%. So not feeling all that happy there. But here in the U.S., we're all kinds of happy here for the first day of the year, first trading day of the year anyway. Dow futures up 197 points here at the moment, 0.46%. S&P 500 futures are up 0.58% or 35 points. And the NASDAQ futures are up 0.8% or 169 points, looking for a substantial gap up this morning. If we take a look at our bond prices here this morning, our bond prices are moving lower, helping out quite a bit here. The 2-year bonds are at 4.21%. The 10-year is at 4.53%, and the 30-year is at 4.75%. If we take a look at oil this morning, well, we have oil moving here this morning. Oil moving up. We've got oil futures right now up 97.5 cents a barrel at 72.70 a barrel, and we can see Brent is also moving up this morning here, 1.39% or $1 for a barrel at 75.67 a barrel. Natural gas, after this big zooming move that we had over the holidays, pulled back, but trying to go higher here this morning. We've got natural gas up about 8.5 cents this morning, or 2.34%. If we take a look at precious metals, we've got gold here this morning moving higher. Right now, gold futures are at $14.20 an ounce. Silver is also higher this morning at $29.82 an ounce in silver. So we're trying to get maybe a little bit of a double bottom going here in that silver market. Copper, well, copper just slightly lower here this morning. But you can see we've kind of got a double bottom formation that could be forming here as well. Platinum is a little bit higher, but palladium moving just slightly lower this morning. And if we take a look at that crypto, well, BITO making a big move up here this morning. We've got crypto pretty happy here right now. Bitcoin is up $2,011 a coin. Ether is up a whopping 3.5% or $117 a coin, and mostly bullish in those cryptos here this morning. So crypto feeling bullish as well today. So what does all that mean for the day? Well, how about we settle in? Let's buckle up. Let's get ready for the very first morning market prep video of 2025. Good morning once again, everyone, and thanks so much for being here. I very much appreciate it. Let's take a look at some of these stocks in here. Take a look at these indexes, see if we can figure out how we might want to approach the market for today. And clearly we have a little bit of, well, uncomfortable price pattern here in the diamonds. You can see a very clear possibility of a head and shoulders top. Now right across here is the neckline, and we have not broken that neckline yet, and we also have that possibility that this could end up being like a double bottoming formation. What's going to be really critical here in this pattern is whether or not we can have enough bullishness push up off of here to break through that shoulder high right there and hold up here in support, because that would establish an upside trend. We'll want to be watching carefully for that. So if those bulls can continue to find inspiration here today, well, you can see we've got this base right up in here that we're going to need to fill first. Get through that little spinning top doji candle here, get up into there, and then we can push on up to see if we can test this upside resistance here in that chart. If we can push on through there, then of course we have that chance then that we could create that higher low in the chart. If the bears, however, were to find inspiration here today and push back down, well, you can see breaking back down below this area of support would raise that concern that we could push back down into these recent lows, and that down here could raise that concern where once again we could break that neckline here in that chart, and that could spell some problems here if this pattern plays out to be true. If we take a look at our SPY, our SPY, also showing a little bit of that head and shoulders top type pattern in here, and we'll want to watch that pretty closely. If we take a peek in here, we've got that little bit of a downtrend possibly going on in there. So if the bulls can continue to find inspiration, I'm going to say we've got to push back right up into here where we can catch a little bit of price resistance, and then beyond that up here to test this downtrend, see if we can push back through in that area. If the bears, however, were to find some inspiration here today, well, it's not that hard to see where we would go. That possible pushback into here could raise some concern in the market. And of course, breaking down beyond that, we may threaten the break of the neckline here of that head and shoulders, and of course beyond that, that would raise some significant concerns in the market. If we look at our QQQ, no head and shoulders top, but we do have that possibility of that lower high coming into play, and we also have that possibility of this double W or double bottom situation here in the NASDAQ. So if those bulls can find inspiration here, first thing we need to do is we need to break back through that resistance right there, push right up, and there's a pretty good chance, the way we're showing so much bullishness this morning, that that could be possible. Breaking through there, I'm going to suggest our next move up, we need to break through that little space here in that chart, push back up into that area of resistance, and then up toward that downtrend in the chart. If the bears, however, were to find inspiration today, well, not too tough to see here either. If we were to really start moving and pushing back down, well, our low down in here is where we would want to be watching pretty closely for an area of support. Breaking down below there causes us to move officially into a downtrend with a lower high followed by a lower low. So watch that carefully if that were to occur. If we take a look at our IWM or Russell, also having that nasty looking, it's kind of a funky looking too, head and shoulders top, as you can see, possibly forming in here. We'll want to watch that closely. Neckline, of course, is going to be right through that area. So if the bulls can find inspiration here today and continue to see that push, then I would suggest right up in here toward this next area of price resistance in the chart and perhaps that recent high. Now notice that's going to be up here testing this trend here in the chart to see if we can break back through that resistance up in here. And of course, if we can break back up through there and prove to hold it, then we have resumed an upside trend. So keep an eye on that, at least up here until maybe that downtrend. So watch that closely. If the bears were to find inspiration today, then that push lower here, if we were to break back down below this area of price support, then I'm going to suggest that high probability as we come back down and retest those lows. And of course, beyond that, we will be wanting to watch this neckline in here of that head and shoulders top in this possible big area of price support that would give up in IWM. Let's take a look at our VIX. Our VIX still holding up pretty good. Now I suspect this will pull back a little bit today with the bullishness that we're seeing here in the pre-market, but keep an eye on that as we push back up here. You will want to note that we're holding a little bit of an upside trend. Certainly that big fear move that occurred in here, we have broken that down. It's possible we could be in kind of a wedging pattern here, as you can see, symmetrical triangle, trying to push back down from that resistance area here in the chart. So if those bulls can continue to find inspiration today, let's look for this to soften and weaken and start to pull back here in that chart. The critical point would be if we pushed back and hold some area of price support here in the chart. That would be of concern for those bulls. And if the bears find inspiration, well, those bears could potentially start pushing through some of these resistance levels in the chart, and that would start raising that concern in the market that the bears are gaining some grip here on the overall trend of the market. Let's take a look at our T20s. Now our T21-22 indicator, if we take a look at this, we have been awfully bearish, and we're seeing that hope of a relief rally, really gaining some ground here this morning. So watch that carefully. We're likely to see this really push to the upside, and we definitely need it. We need to relieve that bearish pressure here in the market. So keep an eye on that. Right now, this looks pretty good for that potential relief. If the bears, however, were to reverse that in some way today, we've got some support down in here, of course, that we can hold and back into that bearish move, but watch that carefully. We've got a good upside potential here as well. So this is probably our best hope. Our T2108, our T2108 certainly hasn't been looking good here over the holidays. We might be catching a little bit of a W bottom in here. This is a percentage of stocks above the 40-day moving average, and you'll notice not exactly a bullish situation here when about 19.5% of the stocks is all we can do to hold those above the 40-day moving average. And you can see this is pretty bearish in here. It is possible that this can go lower if the bears find inspiration, but with the bullishness that I'm seeing this morning, I would look for an attack up into here, maybe even beyond that. Maybe we can relieve some of that pressure here in the T2108. Unfortunately, we do have a situation here where we're back in a blackout period, and so we're likely to see breadth of the market remain a bit weak because a lot of companies are in that blackout and are unable to provide any any dollars really. They can't really do much of anything here to inject money. No corporate buyback activity, and that's going to continue to grow as we move closer and closer to the next round of earnings. If we take a look at T2107, T2107 also not giving us a real big warm and fuzzy, but that possibility of that double bottom here formation, the bullishness we've got going this morning. First area of attack would be up here in that 47, 48 area of the chart, and then see if we can start pushing back up toward the 50%, have those stocks coming back up in here. Now keep in mind, we still have quite a bit lower that this could go if we can't deal with this resistance up here in the chart, so watch that carefully. And then again, if we look at our T2101, which is that market breadth, obviously this has been pulling back from that high point, but I'm not going to attribute that much to anything more than just light holiday volumes, and it's possible that we could even see light volume yet today, but watch that carefully here. If we continue to see, even on this big bullish move that we got going this morning, we need to see that breadth coming back here into the market to follow along. If the breadth stays weak, again, that could be a signal of the blackout period, and that's not going to help out the bulls a whole lot if they can't get that breadth to follow the enthusiasm that we see here this morning. So watch that carefully. Let's take a look at our economic calendar here for today. And our economic calendar, pretty light, not much going on for the rest of the week, but we do have this morning, we're going to get those mortgage applications in here, and we're going to get jobless claims here this morning. Jobless claims are looking at those coming in at 225, so a little bit of an increase on those. Keep an eye on that this morning. We got a PMI manufacturing final. Looks like their consensus is looking for a 48.3. That's a little bit of a decline from the prior. And remember, guys, anything below 50 in here is showing manufacturing still in decline. So this could be a just an indication by what we're seeing in China, we're seeing in Europe, that our manufacturing is slowing. We'll want to watch that one pretty closely. Now, our construction spending, we've got construction spending today. They're looking for a little decline there from a 0.4 to a 0.3. Keep an eye on that. We've got petroleum numbers coming in here today, and of course, some bond auctions and a Fed balance sheet here at the end of the day. If we take a look into Friday as we plan, we've got an ISM manufacturing number in there along with the motor vehicle sales. By the way, with that motor vehicle sales, there is a pretty good chance that Tesla will report its sales figures today. So keep an eye on that. That could be a catalyst for today if they do that. It's expected today, but could possibly be tomorrow, so watch carefully on that. And then with the ISM in here, they're looking at ISM coming in at 48.5, so little tiny increase over last time. We've got some Fed speakers in here and a natural gas report on Friday. Remember, we also have very soon on the 20th, we have a new administration coming in, and a lot of uncertainty about what that might mean as far as tariffs and how things may progress from here. Let's take a look at our earnings calendar here, and unfortunately there isn't much going on the old earnings calendar. We've got just one noteworthy earnings report here today. That's RGP, and it's not particularly noteworthy, but that's what I was able to come up with. As you can see, still in a downtrend, trying to bottom in here on RGP, but watch that closely. That's all we've got. And as a matter of fact, there are no notable reports for Friday, so very light on the day, and that's why we could see relatively light volume as a possibility. But right now we've got the futures zooming. Right now Dow futures are up 313 points. They're really trying to put some fire into this to pump up the first day of the year, so first trading day of the year, so watch that carefully. So how about we take a look at a few stocks that could be setting up for today. But before we do that, everyone, if you could do me that quick favor, if this is the first time you've seen these videos, if you could please click that subscribe button on YouTube, and also click that bell icon when it pops up so you'll be notified every time I post a video. And if you find these videos to be useful or helpful to your trading, if you could do me that favor, click that thumbs up button. That leave a brief comment. That helps a lot in showing that algorithm that, hey, people are engaging with the video, and allows those folks to share this video with more people out in the social media world. So thank you everyone for taking the time to do that. Let's take a look at a few of these stocks setting up. Remember everyone, these are not recommendations to buy or sell any security. You need to do your own due diligence, be very, very careful in this market, and remember the volumes could be a little bit funky here today, even through the end of the week with everyone extending their vacations. Believe me, I was considering that myself. So I know I'm not the only one. Let's take a look at a few things in here and see if it makes any sense to you. Take a look at ULTA. ULTA Beauty, I think, could be setting up here in a nice bullish pattern. Moved up in this trend, we kind of slipped that trend here just a little bit, but notice we're holding in there on that support. Keep an eye on ULTA with the bullishness that we have here this morning. Every reason to believe that could be a catalyst to move that guy on higher. How about EW? EW bounced around here quite a lot over the holidays, but low volume will do that. You can see we've got a nice little resting pattern in here, a little consolidating pattern in here. We're just kind of coming back to try and hold on to that. Keep an eye on Edwards Lifescience, because if it does pop through here, notice right through that area right there, there is a pretty good upside opportunity to fill that gap in here on Edward Lifescience, so watch that closely. Tiger FinTech in here. I thought this might go over the holidays. It didn't quite make it. You can see my price alert in there. We did fade back. What's going to be critical, I think, at this point is this really needs to find this support and hold in here. If it can hold, then there might be an opportunity for that to come back into my good graces, but I would watch that carefully if that starts to drift to the downside. TTWO continues to set up. I like the way that chart is looking in here. That chance that could push right on through. You can see we got this little tiny higher low in here. That possibility we could push on through and then maybe break through some of this resistance up above. That's worth keeping an eye on. WBA has been coming up out of this bottom. Kind of an interesting looking chart here. Nice little upside trend in here. I had alert right in here, and of course just light volume holiday activity. A lot of stocks have faded back, but watch that carefully in here. If we can get some bullishness going, and any kind of uncertainty in the market could get some of these defensive sector stocks picking back up. So watch that carefully. If that were to occur, I would watch that close. Cisco, I think, is setting up nicely. Cisco has this nice little pattern in here, broke through some resistance, resting back. If this is the trend, and I don't know if this is the trend or if it'll be out here, but if that is the trend, watch for that upside opportunity maybe to come in with the bullishness that we see this morning. Breaking through this resistance could really get that moving to the upside here. So keep an eye on Cisco. Take a look at Bumble. Bumble trying to make that move here just recently, and yesterday had a pretty nasty little pullback, but not yesterday, but the 31st, and you can see that we might be trying to sneak out from underneath that downtrend here. So watch this carefully in this little pattern. If this can hold, there is that opportunity that might push on through here to the upside. I think that'd be worth keeping an eye on. Of course, our airlines have been really strong. They continue to show that strength here in the market. Watch that close. I'd be keeping a close eye on natural gas as well. What we're seeing is a major cold wave coming here across the country, not only here in the United States, but in Europe. They're looking at some natural gas deficits. Really big problem here as this cold snap comes into play. So watch that carefully. Natural gas getting a nice boost here to the upside. If it can hold some support, and I wouldn't suggest chasing this pop here this morning. I think this needs to rest back a little bit more, consolidate a little bit more. But you never know, with a catalyst of a lot of cold, that could continue to push on higher. So keep an eye on natural gas. You might want to keep an eye on oil. Oil would be another one, as you can see, popping through in here through some resistance, resting back in that pattern. That possibility that this upside trend in here might be tested, or perhaps we're just going to extend this really steep upside trend in here. So watch that carefully on oil. Looking pretty decent overall. Take a look at DraftKings. Just because I've been looking a lot of bullishness here doesn't mean there aren't charts that could be setting up bearish. And we want to remember that we've got some head and shoulders patterns on those indexes, and we might have to start watching for a few of these bearish charts to come into play. I think any rally back in here on DKNG to come back up and test these resistance areas in the chart could set up that next opportunity short here. And they are not alone. There's quite a few stocks like that here in the market. So you want to be watching a little bit of both sides here. Kind of all depends on how we follow through with a big move like we're seeing here this morning. TLT would be another one. Bond prices pulling back here this morning. If that trend were to continue, then we might start seeing this move back up here on TLT. But I got to tell you, not holding a whole lot of hope on it. There is a massive area of price resistance here in that chart. So rally back up into here, and we could still see additional failure here on those bonds if those bonds continue to stay sticky the way they have been here in the market. So there's quite a few stocks for you to be paying attention to. Of course, you know, it's always a good idea to keep an eye on those financials that have been struggling here just a little bit here in the chart, and of course in oil, because we've got this little bit of bullishness coming up in oil after this major sell-off. So any higher low, and maybe it occurred right there, that higher low showing oil coming back, any resting pullback in there might set up the next opportunity. So keep an eye on that oil sector as well. With that, everyone, I want to wish you all a fantastic day. I want to wish you great results in your trading. For HRC and RWO members, we'll be seeing you in the trading rooms here in just a few minutes. Y'all take care, be safe. I want to wish you all the best. Have a great day, everyone.